America. We are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. At Grand Canyon University, we believe in equal opportunity, and the American dream starts with purpose. To serve others in ways that promote human flourishing and create a ripple effect of transformation for generations to come. Find your purpose at Grand Canyon University. Private, Christian, affordable. Visit gcu.edu.
Tuck it.
With everything you have on your plate, earning your degree online seems impossible. But at Grand Canyon University, we specialize in helping you fit a master's degree in education into your busy day. Your graduation team, led by your own GCU counselor, provides you with the personal support you need to succeed. Achieve your goals with a plan and team behind you. Find your purpose at Grand Canyon University. Visit gcu.edu.
WBSM presents The Tim Weisberg Show, streaming live on WBSM.com and the WBSM app. Call 508-996-0500. Send us app chat messages and open line voicemails using the WBSM app. Now, The Tim Weisberg Show.
Good morning. Happy Wednesday to you. Welcome into the program. Hope that your day is starting off well. By the way, because I'm sure I'll get app chat messages asking me what's going on, why we didn't have the local news. Ariel is covering for Phil today. Phil is out, but because she has to work the afternoon and into the evening as well, she's just going to start a little bit later today. But she'll be joining us at some point. And, of course, you can join us at any point at 508-996-0500. App chat and open line voicemails on the WBSM app. And we have a lot that we can discuss this morning. But I want to start off with something that Chris McCarthy's been talking about on South Coast Now, because the story has taken a little bit of a turn. So if you've been listening to Chris, I believe he started discussing this last Friday and then really got into it yesterday. This was something that came out of last Thursday's New Bedford City Council meeting. During the meeting, a motion was discussed, filed by Councilors Lopes, Gomes, Pereira, and Morad, regarding the proposed contract between the City of New Bedford and the Fort Taber Fort Rodman Historical Association, Incorporated, for the building that houses the New Bedford Military Museum. And Chris told me about this last Friday, and I kind of started a little bit of a cursory dig into it, but had a whole bunch of other things going on. Was trying to only work half a day, ended up working over 12 hours that day. But, had a lot of things going on, and I said, well, I'll keep an eye on this. And then yesterday, obviously, the story started to snowball a bit. And so I started trying to get some answers on it, because it didn't sound right to me. Not that I didn't believe what Chris was telling me, and I watched the meeting. I watched the portion of the meeting where they discussed this multiple times. But like Councilor Pereira said, it just doesn't make sense that the city would suddenly, as the Military Museum is about to celebrate its 20th anniversary coming up in August. You can read more about that and hear the Town Square Sunday interview at WBSM.com and on the WBSM app. But why now, all of a sudden, does the city want to start charging the Military Museum $32,000 a year in rent for that building? Which obviously led to speculation from callers, and I think even from counselors, that the city or someone else wanted the building. One of the possibilities that was brought up by people was that the yacht club wanted the building. And I can tell you that that is not the case, at least. Sorry, I'm trying to find you something that I can read to you here. But Bill Needwitz, which I believe I'm pronouncing correctly, who is now the president of the Fort Taber-Fort Rodman Historical Association, posted yesterday, after listening this morning to the talk radio show in WBSM, someone stated that the yacht club may have had something to do with the museum's contract and wanting our space. That is totally false. The museum and yacht club work together and are good friends, so please let us put that to rest. So that is not the case. But there's a lot of confusion and speculation and just general disbelief that the city suddenly wants to collect $32,000 from the military museum, which only raises about $6,000 a year in donations and memberships, and has an operating cost of $14,000 a year because they pay for their own janitorial services, they pay for their own landscaping there, they pay for their own heat. According to this paperwork that was placed on file with the council, the association pays for all cleaning supplies, paper products, paper towels, hand soap, toilet paper, and cleaning supplies for the restrooms, as well as glass cleaner and paper towels for the walls and the cabinets, vacuum cleaners, mops, soap, and wax for the floors, all supplied by the Historical Association, not by the city. So they're already operating at a deficit here. And they're going to be charged $32,000. It didn't sound right to people. And as it turns out, it isn't right. So yesterday I was provided a copy of the proposed contract from Dennis Farias, the clerk for the city council. And as I'm reading through it, I focused in on one particular segment because in the past, there had been a similar issue. In 2017, the city started charging the military museum $250 a month rent for that building. And they were able to work out an agreement where that fee was waived in exchange for the work that the military museum does, the upkeep, the landscaping, paying its own utilities. Because it does all of that, and as it continues to do all of that, the city waives that rental fee. And nothing, I reached out to Jonathan Darling, the spokesperson for the city, and I said, can I get a statement from the mayor as to why it has changed from what was agreed upon in 2018 to now? What was the cause for the change? Why all of a sudden do they want to collect $32,000 a year in rent? And this was prior to me getting a copy of the contract. And then once I got the contract and I read this line that is in it, it says, this is in section 6. You can read the entire contract at WBSM.com and on the app. It's in the story there. The licensee will be responsible for utilities, cleaning, and routine maintenance in lieu of monthly payments upon approval by the Board of Park Commissioners, which is a formality. The Board of Park Commissioners oversees the property as long as they sign off on this, which why wouldn't they? They've been doing it for years. And according to the city councilors, the park board didn't even know that this was happening. Councilor Morad said park board members were surprised that their name was on this. And I can tell you, there's only one park board member's name on this. And that's the chairman, Peter Boswell. So I'm going to have to make the assumption. And if Mr. Boswell is listening and he wants to correct me, feel free to call in and do so. But I'm going to have to make the assumption that if Councilor Morad made that statement, that's who she was talking about. Just based on deduction, he's the only park board commissioner whose name is on there. So he knows the agreement that existed in the past. Now, he might not have seen the contract yet. So he might be depending on the councilor's word that there is a change. But I received a statement from the city, an official statement attributed to the city of New Bedford, that said the city hasn't made any changes to the fee agreement with the military museum. It's the same setup that they've had since that 2018 agreement. There's also a concern about a part that would allow that if the city took over the property from the Historical Association, that it could sell or destroy the items therein. So the Military Museum is a tenant of the city of New Bedford. It rents that building, although the rental fee is waived. It is a renter. It does not own the building. It's supposed to be paying rent. That rent is waived in lieu of the other work that is done there. If the Military Museum was to have to leave, whether because the agreement to waive the fees were no longer in place and they couldn't pay the rent, or it decided to go somewhere else, or the city just said, you know what, we don't want a military museum there anymore. If the museum had to move from that space, the renter, the tenant, I guess in this place, the licensee, well, that's the term they use instead of a leasee, the licensee has the opportunity to move its items out of the building. Those are items that are owned or on loan to the military museum. They would have every right to move those items out of the building. The city cannot come in and put a lock on the door and say, everything in here now is ours. Sorry. We're going to lock the doors and we're going to sell everything, or you know what? We're going to destroy it. We're going to destroy this congressional medal and laugh as we do it because you didn't pay your rent. That's the part that I find unbelievable, and that grown adult city councilors actually believe that that was going to happen. That if the museum had to leave that space, somehow the city was going to take over everything that's in it. That's not even legal. So that part had me scratching my head anyway, and as, you know, the city statement said in that particular case, let me give you the quote. That is boilerplate language, which is extremely common in any landlord-tenant agreement. The city will obviously not be auctioning or destroying those pieces of New Bedford history. Well, first of all, they couldn't. They don't own them. Many of those items are on loan from the families under the agreement that if the museum ceased to exist, the items would be returned to the families. At least that's the way it was the last time that I was, you know, and in fairness, I haven't had conversations about the way the museum operates since Joe Langlois was the president, and he has since passed away. But that was the way that it went there. A lot of those items were on loan. The museum didn't actually own items. And items that were donated to the Historical Society. So they own them, not the city. The same way if you rent an apartment from a landlord in the city and you get evicted from said apartment, What do you do? I mean, I guess some people walk out and leave their stuff behind. Or some people push it to the point where they have to be removed from the building by law enforcement. But you have the opportunity to take your stuff with you. Some people leave stuff behind because they're jerks. Oh, I don't want to move that couch. Screw this guy. He's making me move. He can move it. So when that happens, the landlord has language in the lease agreement that allows them to sell or destroy that property. Why? Because that landlord wants to just put it on Facebook Marketplace. Free couch, come take it. You have to carry it down the stairs. Or the landlord doesn't want to root through all the boxes of clothes and newspapers and stuff you left behind. They want to open the door and throw it out into the dumpster. That's what that language is about. It's not about some nefarious plan for the city or the yacht club or somebody to take over this building and then sell off everything that's inside of it. How much do you think we're going to get for that Congressional Medal of Honor? We've got to give more money to the Zeitarian. How can we do that? Let's auction off all the military items. That's the way it's being characterized here. And I use the Zeitarian as an example because that's something that the counselors brought up in this meeting. We pay an organization to operate the Zeitarian, yet we want to charge the Historical Association for running the military museum. And on its surface, that's a valid point. You give a lot of money to the Zeitarian because it brings in a lot of money for the city. But what are you giving to the military museum? It's a fair question. Also brought up in the meeting, you gave the Zeitarian Theater a 99-year lease. You're making the military museum sign a 1-year lease. Councilor Lopes made the point that they should be able to give a long-term lease that calls for the rent to be waived to the military museum. Absolutely. He's 100% right in that regard. They should sign a long-term lease with the military museum. Obviously not a 99-year lease. It's not a 99-year building. It's right on the ocean, right on the peninsula, right at the very end of the peninsula. It's not a building that I think I would feel safe saying, I think I'm going to stay here for 99 years. However, I think a 5-year lease or a 10-year lease would be completely understandable. But I don't know if this is oversight by the counselors who read this rental agreement and missed that line about the licensee will be responsible for utilities, cleaning, and routine maintenance in lieu of monthly payment. I don't know if they just missed that. 4 different counselors who filed the motion missed that. Every other counselor that voted unanimously to send a letter to the Mitchell administration and the park board and the park department saying that they wanted the military museum to have free rent. I don't know if all 10 counselors, Counselor Carney wasn't present at the meeting, missed that one line. I kind of wonder how many of them actually read it. The other part of it is Counselor Gomes stood up and spoke about how this had happened before, and then they weren't going to let it happen again. Well, the language is in here because of what you did last time. You did. You won last time. And that caused the language to be here in the new version of the contract. So I don't know if this was a chance for the counselors to take a dig at the Mitchell administration by framing it this way. I don't know if they made an honest mistake and didn't realize that language was in there. They're all intelligent people. They all have good reading comprehension skills, as far as I know. So I think that if they had read it, they would have seen that line and understood what it meant. Now, Councilor Pereira did make a statement where he mentioned, if not for the advocacy of the military museum, we wouldn't have even known about this. And that made me think maybe because there's a new president from the last time they made this agreement, because apparently the agreement had expired and nobody had bothered to renew it. And then somebody said, oh, we should get this renewed. So maybe that new president, because, and listen, I love Joe Langlois, but he was a guy that took care of a lot of things. And maybe he didn't tell everybody about how it worked. So maybe Bill's coming into this and seeing this and saying, wait, what the heck? And is kind of overwhelmed by it. And so he goes out to the city councilors and says, what is this all about? Why do I have to pay rent? Why do we have to pay rent? Entirely possible. But then those counselors should have been able to say to him, oh no, Bill, take a look at this line here. It's the same agreement that you already had in place. And what I find to be ironic is that the counselors stood up in the meeting. Multiple counselors commented about how this contract had to go through multiple sets of hands on the city side before it was sent to the Historical Association. And their argument was that's multiple adults in the room that should have known that this was a bad idea. But in actuality, there were multiple adults in the council chambers that should have caught that language. Councilor Morad actually made the line, said the line to the effect of, the administration, which is usually their code word for the mayor, that the mayor was going to put this out there, trying to charge them $32,000 and maybe take their building and sell off and destroy the things that are inside of it. But he was going to show up on Memorial Day to the parade and shake the hands of the people involved in this and shake the hands of veterans as if it was some sort of duplicitous scheme on his part. So I don't know. I don't know if this was just a mistake that was made by 10 city councilors or who are well-versed in reading contracts, or if this was attempting to frame this situation in a way that could reflect poorly on the mayor and the administration. I don't know. But all I can say is, for those of you who were calling up yesterday and who were concerned, those of you who were upset that the city was doing this to a volunteer organization that pays tribute to local veterans and provides a valuable service to the community, you have nothing to worry about, at least from what we're being told here. Now, is it possible that there's machinations going on behind the scenes? I guess. But from what I'm being told, nothing is changing. Nobody's trying to get the building. Nobody's trying to get the items inside. Nobody's trying to get $32,000 in rental payments. Now, my speculation is, and I don't know this to be sure, to be certain, but you've got to set a rental rate that you think is the value of that building before you can waive that. So $250 a month was what they were trying to charge. That was what I was charging them in 2017. So that's what, $3,000 a year? Obviously, in 2024, if that building was to become empty and another group wanted to rent it out, you're going to want more than that for the rent. So what they did is they put the value into there that they think that it is worth, and then they decide that that was the annual rental payment. And it says, license payments, Section 6, licensee, in addition to its invaluable cultural contribution to the city realized from its operation of the museum, valued in excess of $10,000, agrees to contribute $32,000 payable in monthly installments on the first day of each month from May 1st, 2024 to April 1st, 2025. And again, the licensee will be responsible for utilities, cleaning, and routine maintenance in lieu of monthly payment upon approval by the Park Board of Commissioners. So they've got to give it the fair market value in the contract or what they would want from somebody else, but they're also still saying they're going to waive it. 508-996-0500. Let's take a phone call here. Good morning. You're on WBSM.
Good morning, Tim.
How you doing, Gilly? What's on your mind?
I'm listening. Well, a museum and the city council. When are people going to wake up and realize, and especially a lot of times, you give both sides of the story, but you also say they're intelligent people. How can they be intelligent people and make the same mistake over and over and over and over again?
Well, I guess the argument to that would be, are they making a mistake or are they intentionally framing it that way?
Well, how many times, how many times, I've been, and you know how I am, I open my mouth and I got proof when I do it, and that city council is run by a tyrant. Everybody's afraid of Linda Mulrad. I keep telling you guys that. Somebody's got to wake up and say, they're not as intelligent as you guys try to say that they are. They're making the same mistakes, and this is a perfect mistake. Nobody read the contract like you said. Stop giving them guys the benefit of the doubt. You can't make the mistake. I make one mistake, and I'm the devil, and I bring the facts out there. Somebody's got to wake up and say to the city council, you guys are picking on the mayor. You're trying to, it's amazing. I hold a sign that says she's a tyrant. You've seen what she has done. She's trying to run that place, and everybody's afraid of her. That's unbelievable. They're not all stupid on that city council. They just don't have the guts to stand up to her. She's the cause of all that problem in there. She's running everything. She's attacked every city councilor in there.
So
Maria Diaz.
What do you see?
What I mean?
What do you see as the necessary next step for this now? Does the council need to put a formal apology out there? Sorry, we didn't read the contract.
Listen, at least you're letting me talk. That's the part. The other two guys shut me off. I got facts that will bury all of them, but nobody wants to listen to Gilly Safiola's. But look at it. You'll just keep finding excuses for them. How many times do they have to make a mistake?
I'm not making excuses. I'm just trying to be fair.
No, I understand that. That I understand. I'm fair. I've been, she's attacked a whole bunch of, she's attacked even Catherine. She's attacked everybody. She's on tape and everything, but nobody does anything about it. They're just letting her run loose. You should have seen her last night at the thing when she was calling, Bob, foolish. This foolish. She's banging her mic. She's running that whole thing there. Wake up, people. She's the cause. She's the cancer in that.
I'm going to hold you there because I realize how late I am for a break, so I'm going to hold you there.
No, I understand it, but people, how many mistakes do they have to make before people wake up and realize who's the problem in that room?
All right.
Thank you.
Have a good day. And if you want to call in and react to this, 508-996-0500, but I do have to take this break. I was just, I went on a long setup for this, but we definitely want to hear your thoughts on it, whether it be through phone call, 508-996-0500, app chat, open line voicemail. We'll be back in just a few moments.
Nobody knew where to find him.
welcome back in. You know, today's going to be a really nice day. Little possibility of some rain later on, but then tomorrow it's going to rain a bit. Then supposedly Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and into early next week, we are going to have a beautiful stretch of weather. And with that beautiful stretch of weather, you're probably going to want to get outside and grill. And where's the best place to go to get some great food to throw on the grill? The Butcher Shop, 123 Dartmouth Street in New Bedford. We are talking about mouth-watering meats like celebrity pork chops, sirloin steaks, tomahawk steaks, prime rib, giant chicken wings, lobsters, linguiça, chorizo, everything you could possibly want to throw on the grill, you can find at the Butcher Shop. And if you don't have time to throw it on the grill, that's okay. They cook up great food every day that you can just grab and go. And have for lunch, have for dinner, even feed the family. Plus the beer and wine cellar, the cheese fridge with cheeses from all over the world. They literally have everything from steaks to soccer balls inside the Butcher Shop. It is a family-run old-school market located at 123 Dartmouth Street in New Bedford. And if you've never been, I recommend stopping in, grabbing something, even if you just get some hamburger, if you can just get some steaks, whatever it's going to be to throw on the grill, and it will become your new go-to place. So check out the Butcher Shop, 123 Dartmouth Street in New Bedford. Let's go back to the phones now, 508-996-0500. Good morning, you're next on WBSM.
Morning, Tim.
How you doing?
Not bad. So, yeah, I heard you talking about the military. I called in yesterday. I was irate when Chris was talking about it.
Sure, as anybody would be on the surface. Right. It's a very head scratching idea.
Yeah, 100%. And the way you were explaining it kind of made a bell ring in my own head. My experience with nonprofits that use municipal facilities is when they sign the lease is given a monetary value, but is paid via services rendered. Mm-hmm. So say the lease is worth, like this particular instance, $32,000 a year. That's the monetary value. And then they say, and we're going to pay that via the services that we provide. So we do, in regards to the military museum, we curate military artifacts, this, that, and they do a whole bunch of other stuff, the Tiger exercises, all that. And that equals $32,000. So my payment is paid in full. And that's how I understand it now that you completely, explained it. Rather than paying out a monetary value in cash, they pay it out in services rendered to the public.
Right. And not only that, but they're responsible for their own things that normally would otherwise, might be paid for by the person by whoever else is in the building. So, right. Any landlord's going to say you're responsible for keeping up the landscaping, you're responsible for the trash service, and it's the same idea. It's the
right. So if there was a leak in the roof, they have to pay for it, not the city. So that's another, take that off of my bill that I owe.
No, I don't think that's the case, because that's structural. I think that would be something that the city would have to pay for.
Oh, okay. So you're talking like water usage, electricity, insurance, and all that stuff. That's all paid for by the military museum.
Yes, they pay all their own utilities. But same way, if you rent an apartment and the pipe bursts and the pipe leaks, you don't pay the plumber. The landlord does. All right.
I understand that. Okay. Yeah. So that is a lot better than saying, hey, you got to cut us a check of $3,000 a month, because that's what you're going to owe, even though they don't even bring in they bring in $6,000 a year. It's
so I can just give you a personal story from the military museum. Years ago, we did a couple of paranormal event fundraisers for them, where we got to go in and investigate Battery Milliken and the fort and go to the second floor of the fort, all kinds of things like that. And we gave them a check for probably, and I don't remember the exact number, but maybe about $3,000. Because we gave them a portion of the ticket sales. And Joe looked at me and said, we're going to be able to stay open all winter now because of this. And I said, wait, why? And he said, well, normally we would have closed in the winter because we can't afford to pay the heat just to keep the place open. So we gave them enough money that they could afford to pay the heat for the winter and keep it open. That's the kind of budget they're operating on there.
Oh, so it's very minimal. A very minimal operating budget. I'm glad that it actually puts a lot of people, at rest. But
do you want to hear what really bothers me about this? And I kind of referenced this at the beginning. According to this sheet that's provided, that was placed on file with the council, the military museum pays about $14,000 a year in operating expenses.
Yeah.
Why can't the city of New Bedford give the military museum $14,000?
Okay, so I was going to call into Chris yesterday with another idea. We pay so much money for, I mean, this is obviously at the state level also, for ridiculous things. We're paying for the housing of migrants that are, everybody that calls in and complains about it. But $14,000, like you just said, $14,000 in a budget of what, $500 million?
Yeah, over $500 million this year. Yeah.
The Mayor Mitchell, John's going to sneeze, and he won't even see that in the budget line items. That's a Kleenex budget for the entire city, and just give it to him. Give it to him. Cut it. If you cut probably 0.5% from every budget, you could probably pay for that entire thing.
And I understand you don't want to open the door to, giving every nonprofit organization money from the city budget to be able to operate. But this is a museum that does bring people into the city. This is a jewel of the city. This is a reason why people come here. Or if it's not a reason why they come here, it's something they should certainly find out about while they're here. And it doesn't make any sense.
What about CPC money? That was a big topic during Chris's show. What about CPC money? Those are historical artifacts.
See, I think the biggest problem here is that the military museum, the historical society, the historical association that runs it, they're not grant writers. They need grant writers. They need somebody to step in and say, hey, I'll do this for you so that you can get some of this money.
Why can't we get money? Why can't the military museum get money from the CPC? It's historical. They're about to give millions of dollars from the CPC to the YWCA. Why can't that money go to the military museum? It's both. I know it's not a historical building, but it's still historical. You're preserving history via the military museum.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing. They're giving money to digitize, old sea records from some of the old whaling ships. They're paying to digitize those records. That's data and information. That's not the actual building. So the same thing could be applied to maintaining and caring for these items.
So how much? I forget the exact number. How much is the CPC giving the YWCA for the housing for the sober house that they're building?
To be fair, they're giving the money to put in handicapped access. That's what the money's for. But I forget the exact amount. Was it $12,000?
No. I'm talking about the entire the YWCA that they're arguing in the millions of dollars, right?
No.
Chris talks about it all the time. The CPC is giving money to the YWCA because Councilor Choquette was talking about it.
You might be confusing it with the Capitol Theater project.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I'm talking about.
That's been in the millions.
Yes. So the CPC has given millions of dollars to the Capitol project. Why can't the military museum get some of that CPC money and then completely fund it for the year, every year? If you're able to do millions of dollars to the Capitol Theater project, why can't you do that for the CPC? Because you're preserving history. I know it's not a historical building, but it is history that you are preserving.
I got to hold you there.
What's the difference?
I got to hold you there, but that's a fair point.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
All right, you have a good day.
Have a good one, Tim. Take care.
And we do have another caller on hold. Sketty, hang on. I'll get to you as soon as I come back, but I got to take a break here. We'll be back in a few moments. And let's go right back to the phones. 508-996-0500. You're next on WBSM.
Good morning.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. This is very upsetting for me. And I love the way you just kind of put it out, made it a little more clear. And the previous caller, Mr. No Name, he kind of took some wind out of my sail there at the end, because that was what I was wondering. I app chat Chris, but I didn't, but anyway, so I'll ask.
Chris and Barry don't read app chat, so don't bother sending any to them.
Oh, okay. Okay.
As much as I've tried, they don't want to do it. So until I can get a screen here in front of them that just makes them read it, they don't read it.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you for letting me know that. So what I was saying yesterday is I had my husband's flag they folded and handed me, and I was like, oh, what am I going to do with the flag? What am I going to do with his dog tags? He was in Vietnam. He was drafted the year I was born, and he was just a young man. And so I called the fire department. I was like, would you like his flag? And they said, no, you bring that. Called the museum. And so hence I was in the process of maybe going there again. I don't know. The dog tags do represent something to me, because in that era, it's like the protest they're having now with Palestine. His dog tags, he's got these two heavy big things. One says love in the middle of it, but the way they spelled it back then. And the peace sign, it's because that's what it was in 1962, love and peace. And then there is his dog tags that he has on this. And we have no children. And I'm like, who am I going to give this to? I just don't want to see it get thrown out. And, of course, the flag, somebody here would obviously, one of the cleaners, would keep it. And so I just want everything to go in the right hands. And I got some unremarkable pictures of him and his platoon, too.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that they like to display down there.
Yeah. And I mean, it's so funny because back then they put a cigarette on the top of their ear, and there he is smoking, and in the background is all the mountains in Vietnam. It's like, and then you see them and everything. I mean, it's just... I don't mean to rush you. I only got about a minute before I got to take a break. Okay. So what I was thinking yesterday is, yes, why can't they get money under the funding of preservation funding? I mean, that's just...
They need people to write it up and ask for it. I think it's just as simple as that. If they had the right people that could do it, they could get it.
Well, let's get on that. If I got to run out and get signatures and stuff, I'll do that. I mean, the mayor, I hope, really talks about this today. He should have some really good pool there. But thank you, Tim. I'll let you go.
You have a good day.
Okay, you too.
Callers, hang on. We'll get to you, but I got to take this final break, which is probably going to take me to the end of the hour. So if you want to call back after the news, that's fine, too. If you want to hang on through that, you can do that, too. We'll be back in just a few. All right. That is going to do it for this hour. When we come back in the next hour, we'll certainly be talking more about this, some other things that I might mix in during the course of the morning. But if you haven't read the story yet, it's at WBSM.com and on the WBSM app, and it has the actual rental agreement in it for you to read for yourself. It also has links to the previous story from the...
What's the easiest choice you can make? Window instead of middle seat? Picking a vendor who sends a great gift basket? Outsourcing business tasks you hate? What about selling with Shopify? Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage. Shopify's there to help you grow. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell. Wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/try. Go to shopify.com/try now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/try.